The Newsline.
Hello and welcome back to People's TV. Following Israel's successful military strikes on Iran, the world has been closely watching the aftermath. Many observers were quick to point out Iran's long-standing ties with Russia, assuming that Russia would step in to support Iran, just as the United States promptly stood by Israel. Iran itself expected Russia to rise to the occasion. Even after the conflict began, Iran sent a high-level delegation to Moscow to meet with President Vladimir Putin. The attacks launched by Israel were severe. Iran hit rock bottom as a nation. Reports indicate that Israel deployed over 200 fighter jets in its initial assault, eliminating several key military leaders. In times of national crisis, it's unheard of for a country's leadership to remain idle. That's why Iran's outreach to Russia makes complete sense. It wasn't a diplomatic courtesy, it was a desperate plea for help. The purpose of the delegation was to confirm earlier military requests and secure Russian backing in the ongoing conflict. But did Iran receive the help it expected? It appears not. Iran is increasingly frustrated with what it sees as Russia's lack of support. Iranian officials have voiced their dissatisfaction on multiple occasions, accusing Russia of remaining silent and offering only symbolic gestures, rather than real assistance. Despite branding Russia a strategic ally, Iran believes Moscow failed to deliver when it mattered most. Among Iran's top expectations were deliveries of Su-35 fighter jets and the S-400 air defense system. Analysts suggest that securing these assets was one of the delegation's primary goals. Pro-Iranian factions argue that Russia withheld support because it remains focused on Ukraine and cannot afford to engage on another front. However, this reasoning is being challenged. After all, Russia has already sold 117 Su-35S jets to India and shared Su-57 technology as well. Iran has repeatedly requested the S-400 system but received nothing, even as Russia supplied the same to Turkey and Saudi Arabia, nations Iran views with suspicion. This perceived favoritism has deeply disappointed Tehran. India maintains close diplomatic ties with the U.S., which only worsens Iran's disillusionment. From Tehran's point of view, Russia is arming its enemies while ignoring the pleas of a supposed ally. In plain terms, Iran feels betrayed, abandoned in its moment of need by a partner it considered a regional heavyweight. This sentiment is echoed by prominent Iranian figures. Former Parliament Speaker Ali Motahari issued a particularly stinging critique. He stated that Russia refused to provide weapons because Iran might have used them against Israel. He went on to say that by not aiding Iran, Russia indirectly helped Israel win the war. He reminded the public that Iran stood by Russia during its war with Ukraine, most notably by supplying the highly effective Shahed drones. The Iranian people have paid a steep price for supporting Russia, and Motahari accuses Moscow of walking away from its obligations. Sayed Hossein Mousavian, a former nuclear negotiator and a scholar at Princeton University, also weighed in, urging Iran to reevaluate the reality of its alliances. Meanwhile, Heshmatollah Falahat-Pishe, former head of the National Security and Foreign Policy Committee, openly condemned Russia's passive stance. In response, Russia claimed it received no official request for assistance from Iran. Iran, however, insists that the trust and goodwill it placed in Moscow were ignored. A pro-Iranian newspaper reported that although Iran had requested 35 Su-35 jets by December 2024, only 2 had arrived, and in disassembled form, at the 3rd Strategic Air Base near Hamadan. There's no evidence the jets were ever assembled or used in combat. Had they been, they likely would have been destroyed in Israel's follow-up strikes. Once again, the world expected Russia to back Iran. Iran viewed Russia as a big brother and dominant regional ally. But in contrast, the U.S.-Israel alliance has proven to be a model of real-time, strategic partnership. America responded to Israel's crisis not with promises, but with decisive action. Together, these two allies are shaping a new chapter in Middle Eastern history. Looking ahead, we can expect more bold moves from Israel and the U.S. in the region. It's likely that such actions were discussed in depth during Prime Minister Netanyahu's recent meeting with former U.S. President Donald Trump.
Subscribe us for more details.